I'm just a happy camper. Rocking and a rolling.
Yipee-Ki-Yay, Mr. Falcon.
Tom, do you like Phil Collins?
Do I like Phil Collins? What? Is that a rain slicker?
You have a little. Why are the copies of the style section everywhere? Do you have a dog? A little chow or something? No, Paul, I don't. We saw American Psycho in the theater together.
We did?
You and I did, yeah. You don't remember this?
Oh man, I don't. It was so long ago. What year did that come out?
Ooh, it's old. 90, 2000. 2000 even. We were still in high school. Yeah, we saw this.
Yeah, that tracks.
We saw this because I remember we came out of it just ranting and guffawing about the naked chainsaw scene.
Yes. Okay. That's it.
I remember
we
being
were
in the theater.
howling.
We're like, what the fuck is happening? Like,
we were howling. We argued the whole way home about what the ending meant, and we couldn't stop talking about him dropping the fucking chainsaw down the stairwell.
So we were 17. We were not reading Brett Easton Ellis. I knew who he was. I knew a kid who got in a lot of trouble because he kept bringing his book to school, and he wasn't allowed to. You knew him, Mike. I'll bleep his name out someday, maybe. I don't know, Mike. I don't know what you're up to.
Yeah.
You remember him? He used to work at the movie theater and let us in for free.
I do.
He was a good kid.
That's right.
Yeah, he got in trouble for bringing American Psycho to school. And they kept doing it, and he was nuts. But we didn't know what the fuck this story was. We thought it was another serial killer movie. You know, it had a name. It was American Psycho. It sounded nuts. It sounded like B-movie nonsense, right? No one ever heard.
Crazy, man.
Crazy, bro. Crazy. No one ever heard of Christian Bale. I didn't even know who. Like, this was before the internet, really. We didn't look shit up. We just went and saw it. And we were confronted with this wild fucking movie that was kind of abstract, and it introduced this new actor, and I think that was part of it, that we didn't have a lot of Christian Bale reference points. So, I mean, for a good while, for me, he was Patrick Bateman. Until I'd seen him in enough other shit, and then he became Batman.
Well, we walked out of there, and we were fans of Christian Bale, because, like, how could you not be? He was incredible. He was
so good in that. And that's why it's so hard to imagine someone else in that role. But
he is Patrick Bateman.
Apparently, when this movie was as I'm sure you can imagine, this movie was not easy to get made. If you watch the behind the scenes documentary about it, I think it's on YouTube. It was on the old DVD. The lady who made this film, she actually plays. Her name's Mary Harron. She has a role in the movie. She plays that redheaded friend of his that he ends up killing. The one he drugs with the wine.
That's right.
One who laughs at him about having a Whitney Houston CD.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the director?
Yeah. So
no way.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so interesting, is that women were behind this horribly, I don't know, chauvinistically masochistic movie. It's just such a but it's nothing compared to the book. But that's a whole different conversation. And as it was kicking around Hollywood, it changed scope a bunch of times. And at one point, it was going to be a much bigger production with more money behind it, and none other than Leonardo DiCaprio was going to be.
No way.
Patrick Bateman. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. That's where they were leaning for a little while. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know why it didn't work out or whatever, but who cares? We're here to just kind of wonder what DiCaprio, fucking Patrick DiCaprio looks like.
What if?
Today on What If. So we know that Christian Bale was not doing much at the time, right? This was kind of his breakout thing. I mean, he had done like Newsies, he had done a couple small things, but he had never done anything big. When he was a kid, he was in that
Empire of the Sun.
Yeah, the Spielberg movie. Yeah, Empire of the Sun. So it was a big deal for him at the time. DiCaprio was, rising star. He did Titanic in '97, of course.
Okay, yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, and Romeo and Juliet was the year before that. So in '98, 2000 is the year we're looking at. So between Titanic and 2000, he did Man in the Iron Mask.
That movie sucks.
Man, I was just gonna say I kind of liked it. I kind of like it because it's a Three Musketeers sequel, man.
Yeah, I know it is, but
That's the part I like. It had a cast, man. But Jeremy Irons,
Depardieu.
yeah, Gerard Depardieu, Jeremy Irons. What's the guy from Miller's Crossing? I always forget his
Gabriel
name.
Byrne?
Gabriel Byrne. Yeah, it was a good cast. It was a good cast. DiCaprio was weird in it, though. I didn't like him.
Yo, that movie. I have a pet peeve about accents. The Three Musketeers were fucking French.
They were supposed to
right?
be French, quite French.
And I get that people all the time make movies that take place in other countries, and all the actors are fucking British. And I get that. You're making it for a Western audience. But then there are movies like this where some of them are British, some of them are actually French, and some of them are Leonardo DiCaprio.
Just fucking American, man.
American non-regional diction where you can't tell where the hell he's from, and he's supposed to be a French monarch.
When you grow up in a prison in an iron mask, you just talk American. You end up talking American. You can't help it.
I hate it. I'm sorry. I can't make my brain like it.
You know what that reminds me of?
What's that?
In some movies, it really does drive me insane when they have no business speaking English at all.
What?
I don't know, man. Like any movie that takes place in Nazi Germany. However, I was going to say, and I wonder if this is a Tom Cruise thing, because they did it in Mission Impossible movies. And then they did it in that movie he did, Valkyrie, about the plot to assassinate Hitler.
Yeah.
Both movies did this thing where they start off speaking in the foreign language, foreign to Americans, and then it gradually morphs into English. So it lets the audience know, hey, these people are all speaking in German, but because you're dumb Americans, we're gonna
you can't read subtitles.
And we don't want, you don't want to read through a movie because you might not be able to read. Here, we're gonna present this to you in English.
I can think of a movie that did that. What? Exactly that. Ready? Battlefield Earth.
Fuck you, dude. Maybe it's a Scientology thing then.
They did the same thing. They had seen John Travolta with his Klingon face, and he's like, all this gibberish is coming out, and then it just slowly turns into English.
Man, I sat through that movie.
Oh, yeah.
I sat through that movie.
I'm sorry.
I'm just glad it didn't kill poor Barry Pepper's career.
Oh, Barry Pepper. Yeah, Barry Pepper's great.
Barry Pepper. Hey, Barry Pepper. All right, so in the year 2000... all DiCaprio was up to was the beach. So, I mean, so we have this idea of DiCaprio in our heads now as, Wolf of Wall Street DiCaprio. And he's much older than that now at this point.
No, you know what? Can I interject for a second?
Sure.
I saw Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, I made you watch it, yeah.
I really liked that movie. It was great.
Yeah.
And I very much enjoyed Leo DiCaprio. And I mentioned this before. I started to come around. Then I watched Killers of the Flower Moon. And that's what I have in my head is Leonardo DiCaprio.
I understand. I hated
It's still
him.
there, man.
I hated
It's
him
still
for a
there.
very, very long time. The first I kind of liked him in Gangs of New York, although I thought his accent was shit. Catch Me If You Can, I really liked him in.
That's a good movie.
It was the first thing I liked him in, and then he did The Aviator, and then he did The Departed, and he was excellent in both of those.
I've not seen The Aviator.
Oh, no?
But The Departed.
Yeah.
The Departed was great.
Yeah, the Howard
That's a great
Hughes,
movie.
he was really good in that, and he was excellent in Departed. You can't take any, and then he started really doing, his thing. He did Shutter Island, Inception, but
Shutter Island's not bad. Inception's great.
yeah, I don't like it as much as some people do, but I liked it.
I loved Inception. I thought it was great.
J. Edgar, the movie where he played J. Edgar Hoover, not the greatest movie, but he did a pretty good job. Then he did Django, and
Django was great.
man, he was pretty fucking great in Django.
He plays such a great bad guy.
And then
Because I already hate him by this point.
Yeah, he was really excellent in that role. And then I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Tarantino's last movie, which also had Brad Pitt in it. I think DiCaprio is hilarious. I think he really came into his own when he got older and he stopped looking like a child.
He plays a doofus in that movie. His
Kind of,
character is
yeah.
a total doofus,
Like a lovable doofus,
but he sells it.
So all that said, in the year 2000, we still had forever pubescent, looks like he's 18 DiCaprio, right?
Yeah.
We had A Man in the Iron Mask, DiCaprio, Jack from Titanic. So you're talking about putting Jack in Patrick Bateman's fucking power suit. I don't know if that works, man. Like, I don't know if he had the chops at the time. Like, I don't know if he had.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, I think he would have looked too young, I think, first of all. I just think he would have looked too young. And I just don't know if he had the gravity yet to hold that role down. Because that movie is entirely Patrick Bateman. He's in every single scene. Plus there's the voiceovers.
It doesn't work without him.
Yeah, the voiceovers too. Like, I hate DiCaprio's voiceovers. He's done it in a couple movies, and I just don't. There's something about it I never liked. He did it in Gangs of New York too, and like that's
Could
one
it
of the
be
things
his voice?
It's something about it. I don't know. It's the cadence that he reads things in when he's not acting. It's something. I don't know. Maybe it's me, but maybe it's just that the voiceovers that Bale did are so good. Maybe that's what it is.
Listen, I don't think it's you. I can't, like, one of the things I can't stand, I couldn't stand about DiCaprio is his voice. There was always something about his delivery that bugged me.
I have to mention something. We have to give the guy credit for something early in his career.
What's that?
What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
Oh yeah.
He did the Osiris Tropic Thunder thing, and it worked for him.
We won't say it.
We're not
He did it.
We're not allowed to say it anymore, but he did it,
Yeah,
and it worked for him.
You never do it.
Sean Penn
did
couldn't pull it off, and I Am Sam, but he pulled it off in Gilbert Grape, and we got to give him credit for that early on. And then he did a bunch of teeny happy shit.
The Basketball Diaries.
That was good. Did you ever read that?
No.
Cool. It's a good read. It's a hell of a read.
Yep.
The guy who wrote that is in a band, like a punk band. Yeah, they're not terrible either. They had a hit. They had one like minor hit.
What hit?
Carol. What the hell's his name? Something Carol. I don't know. I'll look it up later for you. I'm sorry. I interrupted you like a rude asshole. Go ahead.
No, I think you bring up a good point about him carrying a movie. It's funny if you were to say, like, could he? We had talked earlier about Denzel Washington being in Seven.
Yeah.
Right. And you say, could he play Mills? And I immediately, boom, it's there in my head. Yes, he could play Mills. I could see Denzel in that era of his career, slipping into that role and crushing it. So now, can we do the same thing with Leonardo DiCaprio? And like, you know what I picture? I picture Wolf of Wall Street DiCaprio.
Right. That I could see. Like that,
which we didn't have
that
in
could
2000.
work. No, that was a number of years later. That's
We had
13 years
Romeo.
later.
We had Romeo and Jack, and I don't. It's like I can't put him in Patrick Bateman's double-breasted suit.
All right, think of Patrick Bateman's friends, who would have been the co-stars, right? They all
Josh Lucas.
Yeah, who was very young at the time, but still, they all would have looked considerably older than DiCaprio looked at the time.
Right.
I don't care what you did with him, and if you gave him Patrick's hair and the glasses, I think he would have looked even younger.
He would have looked silly.
And then like you'd have to. I mean, so you'd have to say if he did it and he committed to the role, he would have had to get into Patrick Bateman's shape. So that probably would have thinned out and chiseled his face a little bit more. But I don't think it would have done enough, man. I just don't see it. I don't see him doing the dead face. I see him doing like the frustrated, agitated stuff because he did that really well in The Aviator. But again, like I don't.
Well, they also
go ahead.
To think about it this way too. You think in that movie, Patrick Bateman, Christian Bale is a physical specimen. He obsesses over his fitness. Now, how tall is Christian Bale?
I imagine like 6'1".
He's probably 6 foot, 6'1", maybe. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but he is jacked in that movie. And then he does it again for Batman. You can see what kind of. You can see what kind of muscle Christian Bale can put on when he needs to. He's a fucking
freak. He can transform his body like. I mean, it's a horrible amount of work, but he went from the mechanic,
the machinist,
the machinist, which is a fucking wild movie, to the first Batman, to Batman Begins, and then to Vice. He did Vice. Yeah, and gained all that weight to play Dick Cheney.
Yeah, and American Hustle even.
Yeah, he gained weight for that.
He was huge in that movie,
and then he got skinny again to play in The Fighter. He played Mark Wahlberg's brother.
Oh, Dickie Eklund.
Dickie Eklund, man, what a great movie that was. I like it. DiCaprio's done some good shit in his later career. And he's done Scorsese movies and stuff, but fucking Christian Bale, dude, has played some roles, man.
To me, Leonardo DiCaprio is always Leonardo DiCaprio playing a role. Christian Bale, I think he's able to slip into a role, and you're like, my God, how did he do that? And you're looking at a character.
Well,
you're not looking at Christian Bale. You're looking at whatever character he's inhabiting at the time.
Back in the day, they would have said that that's the difference between a movie star and an actor. DiCaprio is a movie star.
Yeah, he's
essentially
a movie star.
A version of DiCaprio in every movie.
That's why you cast him.
Except for Django. That's an outlier, man.
I don't know. I don't think so.
No?
I think the role he plays in Django is just like it's Leonardo DiCaprio playing bad. But it's that role is filled with so many DiCaprio-isms, but they work.
Okay.
They work for that role. I think he plays a great villain. I wish he would do it more often. Maybe I'd like him more.
And again, that's not a detraction to him. We need movie stars. I love plenty of movie stars as actors. I mean, Bruce Willis is Bruce Willis in every fucking movie. And I was always there for it until those later ones where he was doing it just to make some money before he got sick.
Right.
But I love Bruce Willis in movies. And he does not disappear into characters. Sylvester Stallone, the only time he's ever done it was Rocky, and you could argue Rambo because he doesn't talk very much. These are movie stars,
Right.
Like Angelina Jolie, she could put on an accent, but she's always Angelina Jolie. Meryl Streep disappears into roles. Christian Bale, and it's not just method actors either. There's
like what's his face, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, he's the typical, example for sure. Like, okay, here's a good one. He's not a movie star, but he gets a lot of credit for being a really good actor. But to me, he's this kind of the same in everything. Paul Dano. Speaking of Daniel Day-Lewis, and There Will Be Blood. Paul
Let
Dano.
there be blood.
Yeah. It's always, I'm never going to get it right. And I love that movie. We got to talk about that one day. We got to talk about that one day. But
That's
Paul
a good
Dano,
movie.
you know, he's got the Paul Dano scream. You know.
Well, you know, I think again, I think it comes down to his voice.
Yeah,
His-
yeah. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's
he
it.
and DiCaprio have a very distinct voice that doesn't flex very much. It always sounds the same. Maybe that's it.
Bale has a very distinctive voice too. He even has a little bit of a lisp. But somehow he's able to, like, his voice as Patrick Bateman and his voice in Ford versus Ferrari, wildly different, but it obviously same voice. I think part of it is that he has the range of, he can do a variety of UK accents, including his native accent. And his American
Welsh.
accent, he's done things with it. Like the Dickie Eklund voice.
Oh God, that Boston accent.
Fuck, man, did he have that down, dude? He sounded perfectly in place with all the other actual Boston people in that movie.
You know, it's funny too. Like you hear, like, there's so many British actors, so many acclaimed British actors, and a lot of them struggle with American accents. And you think of like an American accent is a very big term. It's a blanket term. Think of how many regional accents there are in
Australian
America.
actors too have struggled.
Yeah,
with it.
Australian too.
Mel Gibson,
and a lot
Nicole
of them,
Kidman never got it down.
A lot of them struggle with a lot of them have an easier time with Southern. It's much easier for a British person to put on a Southern affect than it is to do either non-regional or some of, like, particularly the Northeast. Like New York, nobody really knows what a Philly accent is except for the people that actually fucking live there. Like, I could put it like, yo, you just going down to get a hoagie down before you go to the shore?
Yeah,
like,
no one wants to do that for a whole movie.
Nobody wants to do the fucking research it takes to figure that one out. So it winds up either being fucking Boston or New York.
Because also no one wants to do a hardcore New Englander accent either. Even if they're in a Stephen King movie, they refuse.
That's where I'm going, though.
Okay,
that's where I'm going. The British actors have that, like, a lot of them. There's this consensus among them that putting on that Boston New Englander accent is like they can't do it. They can't do it. So they just always default to something else.
Which is funny because linguists think that the New England accent is the closest remnant of the way English sounded when people first came to this continent, when Europeans first got here.
Oh, really? I read something that said like Philadelphia, Baltimore was like the closest.
I don't think so, man.
That makes sense, though. It makes sense because it's such an old. It's been settled for so long. It makes sense.
Well, the point is, the closest DiCaprio ever got to putting on a believable accent, you could say, is a toss-up between the generic Southern accent he did in Django and, I mean, The Departed was passable, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Marky Mark was the only one who really sounded like he knew what he was doing in that department. Alec Baldwin was all right, though. He did okay.
You know who did all right? Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen did. You're right.
Yeah, you know, I've been a co-op. Just say the word cop.
That's right,
co-op. Co-op.
Yeah, I've been a co-op for 20 years.
I had a friend. Well, my wife has a friend that lives in Massachusetts, like Auburn, Massachusetts, which is near Boston. I went to go visit one time, and I found myself hanging out with 20 or so Marines from Boston. You know, and they're like, I'm listening to them talk, and they're like, yeah, you know, I've been I think maybe when I get out of the service, I'll be a cop. Maybe I'll live to be like 40, maybe 45 years old.
I'm going to work at Dunkin'.
Before I get all dementia, you know? I'll be dementia. By the time I'm 45 years old, I'll become a cop, and that's my lot in life. And I made the mistake of saying something about the accent.
Oh, dude,
and
what?
And they all ganged up on me. They're like, "What accent? What do you mean accent? What the? You're the one with the fucking accent." And I realized, like, yeah, I'm the only one with like this South Jersey Philly accent. And I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm outnumbered." And all these guys will kick my ass.
I was at a convention one time in Vegas, and I ended up drinking with this dude from Boston, and he had a thick accent, and we got all shit hammered, and we ended up just making each other say things in our respective accents. Because he was just
yo, say this.
Yeah, say it again. He just kept making me say lines from The Sopranos, and we just had a great old time, just pissed drunk, yelling outside of the Venetian.
You guys are making a scene, probably.
No, not in Vegas. It was quite tame for Vegas. If you're not pissing on the wall or screaming obscenities at God, no one notices. And even then, well, that's good. All right, so I think we have a pretty solid verdict here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it. Not that year of DiCaprio. He was too much of a boy.
Yeah,
he had not yet become a man.
And by
physically.
the time Wolf of Wall Street era, even Inception era, DiCaprio would have been much better. That probably would have been more right. Because
Inception,
yeah, because by Wolf he would have been too old looking already. But no one's going to beat what Bale did. Like, that's one of those unique performances. They'll never be able to remake that. It's an amazing feat that they were able to just wrangle that fucking movie out of that book, and make it mean something. Like, make it be interesting and actually tell a story with a point, because that book is fucking just violent madness. By the end, it degenerates. It actually gets more insane as you go further into the book, and the end is just pure insanity. It's just the character has gone mad, and trying to sandwich that and just figure out what to keep and what not it's an amazing feat that they were able to make a movie that I think people would consider a classic at this point. You know?
Oh, I would. Absolutely.
There's nothing else
like
movie.
it.
It stands alone. It's endlessly quotable.
Oh, God. You know what? Above all, as gory and fucked up as that movie is, it's funny.
And it's really not that gory.
Funny.
You don't really see much. You think you see more than you do.
You know what I mean? The situations themselves are inherently violent,
dark.
even if you don't see it on screen. That movie's funny in spite of all that. And
I mean, we laughed. We were sick teenagers
when
we saw it. We laughed our asses off, you know?
I saw something about why the director pushed so hard to have Christian Bale cast in that role. And she went on to say that they were reading the script and he kept laughing. And then she knew at that moment, she's like, he gets it. The guy, he gets the humor, like between the lines of these really awful situations that on the very face of it shouldn't be funny, but he got the humor, and that's why she pushed so hard. Like, this is the guy, he gets the role, we got to give it to him.
And most of it is satire, making fun of yuppies, making fun of that, fake kids of rich people class, and no, it struck a unique balance. It really did. Plus the soundtrack, on top of it. But
Huey Lewis.
Yeah, it was one of those first wave of 80s nostalgia movies in a way too. First wave of movies that we were just, it had been long enough that the 80s was a decade that you could, make a period piece in now. The first one I can think of is The Wedding Singer. I'm sure there might have been some before that, but yeah, by the year 2000, it was okay, and it was things looked pretty. Those haircuts and those clothes, man. Like, I remember watching that the first time and thinking, like, Jesus Christ, things really have changed, huh?
Is that what we all looked like,
man? And normal people didn't look like that, but jerk-offs in New York looked like that.
Yeah.
Wall Street ass bags, they definitely look like that. The club scenes, those are wild, The fucking that couple they have dinner with that look like they stepped out of a Cure video, like a cross
Wait,
between
which couple?
The guy's name is
When
like
the-
Stash or something. They're talking about artists in Soho or something. Hey, that affects us. What about all the murders in Sri Lanka, honey? Does that affect us? Huh? He was one of my
that's-
favorites too. Bryce, the friend, the coked out
Bryce.
friend who had to go to rehab.
We're trying to do drugs in here.
That's just the asshole in the next stall thinks it's okay. Fuck you.
Steroids, man.
It's all right, man. I think if we do enough of it, we'll be okay.
Oh,
yeah, that's
God.
what he
Well,
says, right? Sorry, man. Steroids.
It's so
There's
good.
so many little things too. Just like, and talk about a guy who can act with his face. Christian Bale's looks that he gives people,
Yeah.
and I think it's downplayed by the voiceover, which is so good in that movie. Voiceovers are usually a really big hit or a really big miss, and they were great in American Psycho. But he explains what he's thinking a lot of the time, right? But it perfectly matches his face and all of his reactions. But he didn't hear that shit. He was just acting it. Like, you could delete the voiceover track and know exactly what he's thinking.
Right.
And it's hilarious,
all over his
too.
face.
Like, especially there's just everything. There's so many parts. It's impossible to even list it. Just watch it.
I'll point to one scene.
Point.
Where you can do it. And I read this crazy thing about him in that scene. You know how there were people on set apparently like referred to him as this freak of nature, this physical freak of nature, because in the same way that some people can cry on command and just produce tears out of nowhere,
Yeah.
Christian Bale could sweat on command.
All right, I think I may have read this once. That's real?
And apparently in the scene where they're comparing business cards.
Yeah,
When the cards come out,
endlessly
and they
mean
have-
scene. Yeah,
they have all those tight shots of his face, and he's just glistening because he's like, "Oh my god!"
I always assumed they
that guy's
sprayed him.
caught. No. Apparently, he's sweating. He decided that he's acting, and he's just got such physical command over that he could just turn on the sweat on command, and that scene is a perfect example of what you're describing. You can hear him the voiceover going, "Oh my god,
my God,
his
Even has a
card's better
watermark."
than mine. It even has a watermark." Yeah, exactly. But even if you took that away, you could glean all of that just from the look on his face and how fucking sweaty he gets.
It almost looks like he got kicked in the balls. Like, I wonder if he may have punched
Right.
himself in the fucking balls to get that. Like, I don't see DiCaprio doing that scene, especially back in 2000. No way. No way he pulls it off. I'm sorry. No way.
Yeah.
No way he pulls off the chainsaw scene. No way he pulls off the nail gun scene. No way he pulls off the Paul Allen murder scene. Dancing with
it
the
is.
axe. Like, I don't. DiCaprio's funny and good, but I don't see him doing it. I don't see him pulling it off and making it
Yeah.
as funny. This is the funniest murder in movie history, I think. It's just
Again.
and Jared
a
Leto
scene-
again. And Jared Leto.
Jared Leto.
Yeah, Leto, whatever.
Wait, Leto or Leto?
I don't know. Who cares? Leto Atreides. I don't.
Duke Leto.
However you say that guy's name, that's how you say it. Leto.
Leto.
Leto. Jared Leto, the bad Joker. He was wonderful as Paul Allen, though. Like,
He was great.
that accent, that yuppie douchebag accent. He like a little chow or something. Like, it's
When they're at the
good.
restaurant, that one when the guy's like, "Would you like to hear our specials?" He's like,
Not if you wanna keep
want
your
to keep your spleen." We fucking said that to each other,
Yeah,
constantly.
Touch me again, you're going to draw back a stump, all right? And there's a couple parts where Christian Bale almost veers into like Jim Carrey territory. Like there's when he's
Oh,
he's
yeah,
taking
I
the
could see
sheets
that.
when he's got the sheets at the dry cleaner and they're covered with the fucking blood stains. He does this line where he's like, "I can't cope with this stupid bitching. Understand?" And it's like it's so close to Jim Carrey.
It's like Ace Ventura territory. Yeah.
And that's like the extremes
Or
he
Lloyd.
shoots to.
Our pets' heads are falling off.
My wife gets, she's more disturbed by that movie than I'll ever understand. I can watch it like all the time. I watch it like a comedy. And she's just like,
it is.
I'm not in the mood for that. I'm like, I don't.
It's the most fucked up comedy, but it's still a comedy. It's funny.
It's a classic. I hope they never, ever, ever try to adapt that book again because it's pointless. It's pointless. And I'll say it again, too. Period pieces, they just don't need to be remade if they were good. They just don't. You're not going to bring anything to it.
I understand that it's a period piece. It's hard for me to think of it that way because I lived through a lot of it.
Well, you know.
You're right, though.
It took place 20 years before it was made, and that's like 40 years ago now.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
When you put it that way.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. 1990 is not 20 years ago anymore.
Son of a bitch. Here's a question.
What?
So you have. Let's just pretend, for the sake of argument, that we are both subscribed to our fictional AI-powered streaming service.
Right. Movies of
How
the
much
future.
How much does this cost? We need a name for this. We got to come up with a name. How much does this cost per month? $15?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. You're paying $14.99 a month for the AI-powered streaming service where you can just, pipe up and say, "Hey, Alexa, give me American Psycho with Leonardo DiCaprio as Patrick Bateman." Do you watch it? And are you interested in seeing that? Or do you think it's too far gone? He doesn't pull it off.
Well, I'd be interested in seeing it just to prove that I'm right. But I'd be more interested if I could have Christian Bale play Willem Dafoe's character.
Wait, what?
I would if I have DiCaprio playing Patrick Bateman, I want Christian Bale to play Willem Dafoe's character.
The detective?
Yes, the investigator.
Do you like music?
I think it would be hilarious.
That would, that does put an interesting twist on things. Or you could have Christian Bale play Paul Allen.
Paul Allen. Oh God. He's
what would that
rotting in a
look like?
bathtub in Hell's Kitchen. That call when he calls his lawyer after
when he confesses.
going on his rampage, the confession voicemail.
We've killed like 30, 40 people.
I know 30, 40. I had a rough week. It's just a fucking. He did it all in one take. He had to do that all in one take. That is not easy to do. Again, he had to hold that whole movie himself. A movie that is very tenuous to hold.
It's funny. Like DiCaprio has held entire movies.
Sure.
Like the Revenant. That
Yeah.
I can't
He was
think.
great in that. He was.
It's
good.
hard to think of a movie where someone holds, other than The Revenant, where someone has to hold the whole thing.
But again, that was a
themselves.
much more mature DiCaprio.
Although I have a weird qualm with The Revenant.
What?
It's weird. He won that was if he finally got his Oscar.
Yeah, which
for
makes
Best Actor.
little sense because he speaks the least.
Well,
But
that's kind of where I'm going with this. Like, you read about that movie, they're like, it was filmed on location. He was really in the fucking cold ass weather, and he was really cold and miserable.
He ate raw liver. Yeah.
He ate raw liver, even though he's a vegan or some shit.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I thought to myself, that award is for acting, and I posited that, like, if you dropped me in Alaska with wet fucking clothes and said, "Okay,
You could look
Margareta,
cold.
go crawl through the snow for a couple of miles and then eat some raw liver." I think I probably would have turned in a similar performance. So do I get the Oscar?
That brings up a funny story I remember.
I want to know
reading.
how much actual acting was involved in looking that fucking miserable.
There's a famous interaction between Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier when they were doing Marathon Man together. Dustin Hoffman was a serious method actor, especially when he was young, right? So to get in character for this particular scene, he would run because the character's supposed to be all sweaty and out of breath and shit. He would run around the block and he would like hit himself and shit to get psyched up for scenes. And Olivier famously said to him, you should try acting. And like it's just the two schools of thought.
Yep.
And, yeah, I get it. I get your point. I got another little funny story that I read too about Christian Bale. While he was in the middle of filming American Psycho, I think they just started filming. He went to go meet Brett Easton Ellis at a restaurant, and he went in character. In the suit.
Was it Dorcia?
Yeah, it was Dorcia. Nobody goes there anymore. He went in character in the suit, makeup, everything, and he stayed in character through the whole meal, and until Brett Easton Ellis begged him to stop. Because Ellis said, this was an interview Ellis gave to a magazine where he was talking about this. He said it was so disturbing to have this horrifying character he created years ago in a book suddenly sitting across the table from him,
made
so
manifest.
much like he had imagined him that it just unnerved him and he needed him to stop.
That's awesome.
I'm like, well, I don't know how much of that is just affectation, but it's a good story and it makes me laugh.
That is pretty cool.
All right, so Christian Bale forever as our Patrick Bateman on this episode of What If?
The one and only.
The one, the only. They call it Cillian Rail. That's bone. Jean-Paul Gaultier.
Where did you get that overnight?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh God, I could do the whole damn thing.
I gotta go watch
Jesus,
it now.
we gotta stop. We're gonna
I'm
pull a
go
Brett.
wash my hands while wearing leather gloves. Hold on. Patrick, where are you going? I have to return some videotapes.
It's cranberry juice.
Cran apple.
Cranberry
juice. Cran apple. Really?
All right, we gotta stop. We're going down the rabbit
Meeting
hole.
Cliff Huxtable to Four Seasons. I was at a musical called Africa, Brave Africa. It was a laugh riot.
Hey Alexa, give me American Psycho starring Bill Cosby as Patrick.
No, the cause in another movie.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm gonna put Bill Cosby in everything just because it's awful.
I'm thinking of Cosby doing the beauty routine monologue from the beginning.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I can't.
I use an exfoliating gel wash made out of Jello jigglers.
I wear an ice mask while I do my I can do 1,000. I can't do Cosby at all.
That was Tracy Morgan.
It really was. I'm a boy pregnant.
That's not bad. That's a pretty good Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, see, there's no cause in here. I got no cause, man. I got nothing. Cosby sweater. A Cosby sweater.
Oh, God. All right.
Thank you, everyone. We love you.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to Costco. I love you.